Hello and welcome to Connection of the Week. I'm Ted Goldstein, structural engineer with Atlas 2, and this is the series where we take you inside the HSS Connections Hub to highlight a new connection each week. This week's connection is the HSS Beam to HSS column coped shear connection. This is an economical connection to fabricate and has excellent load carrying capabilities. Let's take a look. So here we've got a coped connection in the HSS Connections Hub. And I've started off with some relatively small members. We have an 8x8 by 3/8 column and an 8x4 by 1/4 beam. I've also gone ahead and put 10 kips of dead load and 10 kips of live load on this connection. And you can see even with relatively high loads for members of these sizes, we are nowhere close to 100% on any of the limit states. Such is the inherent load carrying capacity of this configuration. So since it's so easy to get a connection that works for a typical set of loads, I thought it might be fun to go big. So let's change this column size to an HSS 22 by 22 by 1 inch. And let's choose a beam size equally large, an HSS 34 by 10 by 1 inch. And as you can see, we're now failing because if we hover here, we see that the shear tab is not deep enough. So instead of 2 bolts, let's come down to number of bolts per plate and put in 10 bolts. And now we have a more substantial connection here. Let's change the bolt size from a 3/4 inch A325 to a 1 inch A490 and see how we're doing. Well, right now we're governed by the plate capacity at a mere 322 kips. So what can we do to increase that? Let's come down to the plate capacity and see which of the limit states are governing. So we've got 8% for block shear and 9% for shear rupture. In both cases, we can increase that capacity by increasing the thickness of the plate. Now, we can't go too thick because if the plate gets exceedingly thick, we're no longer going to have a ductile failure mechanism. So we have to observe the maximums. Let's say I tried to go to a 3/4 inch plate to really get a lot of capacity. If I do that, we're going to get an alert here that the plate thickness exceeds the maximum permissible limit. So there are some limitations. But with this size bolt, we should be able to go up to a 3/8 thick plate. And if we do that, we can see that we now have a solid 387 kips of capacity. So really a monster connection here. And that of course, is still by far the lowest limit state. So again, the coped HSS shear connection, really a great connection if you have a heavily loaded beam and also a reasonably efficient one to fabricate. So that's been this week's Connection of the Week. I do hope you'll join us next week.